It's time for the Skyhawks Coaches Corner, recorded live at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum.
Welcome to the Skyhawks Coaches Corner. I'm your host, Bob Bonner, joined this week by Fort Lewis College lacrosse coach Ashley Travis. We are in the now familiar surroundings of the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum. Like to have those folks here, and want to thank, of course, Centura Health and Mercy Regional Medical Center for sponsoring our program. Ashley, we're going to jump right into it.
All right.
You guys, we got to talk softball last week, lacrosse this week. I'm thinking about these spring sports in Durango are just Bernie Sanders memes waiting to happen.
Yeah.
You guys out practicing in the snow and getting going, but you got to be excited. I mean, season got cut off short last year, way too short. You guys were really kind of rolling to get things going. And so, yeah, tell us a little bit about how excited you are to get going this year and about what that experience was like last year to get shut down. You guys really, I mean, you were putting up ridiculous football blowout scores in your first couple of games and then no more. So what was that all like, and how excited are you for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm super excited to see what we can do this year, bringing back some of the talent we had from last year, and just excited to see what they can do out there. After last year blowing out the first two teams, I was super excited seeing what we could do, and I mean, we didn't even touch half the things we worked on in practice yet, just because we were just doing our thing out there, and it was great. And after it getting cut short, it puts a damper on things, and trying to keep spirits high and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think with basketball playing, I tell the girls we're going for it, we're gonna play, and just putting in that work. And obviously, we need to get out on the field. We were for a couple days, and then obviously we got dumped on by snow,
right.
But we're getting some things done in the gym, We're practicing in there and getting through some of our motions and working on some of our defense, more walkthrough stuff, and seeing what works and who works well together. And the fall was interesting, being only in pods of 8, so
right.
Practicing with the full team right now is great, and we're seeing things and we're starting to mesh, and we're super young, so just getting those young girls on the same page as the upperclassmen and getting them to work together, and they're starting to, and
right.
You see these little things during practice, and you're just like, oh, this is going to be good. This is gonna
And maybe one of the, I don't know, and it's hard to find benefits of the COVID situation, but yeah, you brought in 13 freshmen a year ago. Like you said, you're young, without the pressure of competition, to be able to fit some of those pieces together and have some extra time. It maybe hasn't been all bad necessarily as far as relationship and team building goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good to get them playing time last year during those two games, that way they built their confidence up. And, I think off the field, they get along super well. You can see the camaraderie,
Sure.
When they're just getting a drink of water sometimes.
Right.
So it's nice. And, I mean, we had a couple team dinners when we brought them back early, and, just hanging out with them with me, too, is just so nice. I mean, they're a great group of girls, and they, we all have the same goal. We want to win games, and we want to be top 3 in the RMAC. So I think that's, what we're striving for.
It's been fun getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
let's back up. Speaking of that, and let's let folks get to know you a little bit and talk a little bit about you for a minute. The 5th head coach in program history here. You were at Heidelberg University for 3 seasons before you came over here. A couple of years as a head coach there. And played. You can tell us a little bit about Heidelberg, because that's not ringing as many bells as the fact you played at New Haven, which is a Division II, a perennial power. You were on a top 10 team all 4 years that you were there. So there, I kind of gave people the framework, but tell us a little bit about your experience, who you are, and your lacrosse experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, growing up in Syracuse, New York, you're basically given the stick, It's just what everyone plays there. And so I grew up playing, and then knew I wanted to play in college. So New Haven was just the right fit for me. Knew they were a good lacrosse program, and wanted to play for a good lacrosse program. And I just love the balance like that Division II sports have for athletes. So I decided to go there, and worked my butt off there for 4 years, and we were just super talented. Had a lot of good players go through there the 4 years that I was there, and we just we just all meshed. You know, some years better than others, but I always go back to my senior year. I mean, we beat the national championship team in my senior year by 5 goals. So I think we should have won national championship my senior year, but you know, things happen. But I had a great time there, great lacrosse experience. And you know, I definitely take some of the things that my coach at New Haven did to here, just because I see the potential that we have. And you know, I definitely think we can get there eventually. I mean, you know, we have to build this program up, and that means getting good recruits in and getting us all on the same page. So, but my last job at Heidelberg, the first year I was there was the first year of our program. So that was new to me. Building something from absolute scratch is definitely a challenge. It was a fun challenge, though. I had to actually teach fundamentals of lacrosse, passing, catching, cradling, literally fundamentals, because we had some girls from the soccer team that were just true athletes hop in and help us out to give us enough to play. So it was interesting. And then, you know, midway through my second year as a grad assistant, our head coach had left, and we didn't really know what to do. And so the athletic director was like, all right, you're gonna take it over, and I'm gonna be there for basically moral support, because he knew nothing about lacrosse. But and we went 6-9 when I took it over, and the year before that we went 0-12 or something like that. So it gave me a lot of confidence. I think that I can do this, you know, and I have the right tools and the right resources to be a head coach. And you know, being young, I mean, I was 23. And had never, I mean, you know, I've coached practices and clubs and that kind of thing, but never a college team. So you
know, your story is literally the Mighty Ducks adapted for women's college lacrosse. I mean, and really, because you know, you started by talking about your own experience in New Haven, and I didn't realize Syracuse is where you were originally from. Yeah. You know, you said something about it. You know, you thought you should have won a national championship. To have an expectation of a national championship takes a little swagger, takes a little. But okay, you grew up in Syracuse, where there was that expectation for your sport every year, and then went to a college where that expectation was realistic, and then end up with what had to be kind of humbling and a little bit intimidating with the Heidelberg. But then to find that you could succeed in that realm. To come here, you brought that swagger back. I've got to imagine that you're passing some of that Syracuse, New Haven stuff onto these girls, because that's where you really expect to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, the confidence that I gained out in Ohio at Heidelberg, just coaching a small D3 and learning how to recruit and learning how to do those things, and meeting a lot of people along the way that are going to help me succeed. Made me knew that I could take on a D2 role and be successful. And you know, this is a great area to have a good D2 program. I mean, Colorado is starting to boom with lacrosse, so is California, and now you can't just say the East Coast is where lacrosse is at. Lacrosse is booming out here now, and it's starting to pick up, and there's a lot of talent from out west now. And so I don't have to necessarily go back east to grab players. I can get some good players from out here. And, you know, I think the RMAC itself, we're really, I think, going to start taking off with lacrosse. I think we're going to be one of those top lacrosse conferences here soon. And, you know, Regis is usually a top 10 team in Division II, and I want to catch up to them, and I know we can. So, yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to take a break. The boss is saying we got to pay some bills and thank our sponsors. So we'll hear from a couple of them. But when we come back, I want to hear about the plan for how we're going to catch Regis and some of the other front runners in this conference when we return with the Skyhawks Coaches Corner right after these.
We know that there are certain sports that are more at risk to have ankle injuries. And so for my athletes in those types of sports, I'm often recommending not only preventative fitness activities, but also stretching and maintenance exercises for proprioception, and even so far in some situations, preventative bracing or taping. And you're struggling with either a current injury or an injury from the past that's causing you to have pain and dysfunction, I highly encourage you to get over with Mercy Sports Medicine. The athletic trainers there are a great first line of contact for ankle injuries in general. And then also, if you need a consultation here at Mercy Orthopedics with me, they can help that happen seamlessly.
Welcome back to the Skyhawks Coaches Corner at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum. Program brought to you by Centura Health and Mercy Regional Medical Center. I'm your host, Bob Bonner, joined by head women's lacrosse coach Ashley Travis. And Ashley, we heard a little bit about your background on the East Coast, particularly the Northeast, where lacrosse was born. But then when we left, you had talked about California becoming a little bit of a hotbed. Colorado, a lot of potential here. So yeah, let's talk, expand on that, because I've got to think your background, coming where you're from and where you played, even girls who are playing lacrosse in Colorado and come to the sport here, they're watching the games where you came from. So that's got to be a strength when you talk to some of these girls, but at the same time, the ability to recruit a little bit locally has got to be kind of exciting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Before COVID kind of happened, I was going to California and, Denver area to go to some tournaments to look at girls. And most of our team is made up of Colorado, Oregon, California recruits. And, I think a lot of the good thing about lacrosse is so many people know so many people. And one of the club coaches in California I went to high school with, and she's from Syracuse, obviously.
Sure.
So there's a lot of East Coast knowledge being brought out west because, obviously the state of living out here is amazing, and everyone wants to be in the mountains or by the beach.
Sure.
So I think that's great. And, just the knowledge that we have from out there, bringing it out here is awesome. And, I think just the level of coaching is getting better and better with the bigger this game gets. And so it's exciting to see that and bring knowledge out this way so we can get it, whole countrywide.
Sure.
Amazing.
Well, being part of growing a sport, and that, right now it's kind of nice the sport is still small, allows for that community and connections for people like you to help grow it. But it's probably pretty exciting for someone who played where you did to watch it grow in a new area. So we've talked about, I think we've made some new lacrosse fans, which is what I hoped we'd do. Now there's plenty of, like I said, there's lacrosse fans out there though. So let's get into the nuts and bolts a little bit of what kind of lacrosse team, what kind of program are you building here, and what kind of players are you looking for to build that program? What's the identity of this team going to be?
Yeah, I think our biggest identity is go get that ball. That's what, I'm not a sit back and relax kind of coach.
Okay.
I like to go out there and get the ball. We will try anything on defense to get that ball. We're not going to be the team that sits back and watches them do what they want to do. We want that ball. And on attack, same thing. If we can push it, we're going to push it to get that goal. If not, then we'll take things a little slower and look for best option. But speed kills, and I tell them that all the time. Like the faster we can be, the better. That's they call it the fastest sport on 2 feet, right?
Okay.
And that's why.
And so are you when you talk about being aggressive and being decisive in both ends of the field, is that a high risk, high reward style? Because of course then speed makes the risk a little less and the reward a little greater. But is that fair to say that it is kind of a high risk, high reward style of lacrosse that you play?
Yeah, I would definitely think it's definitely high risk. For sure. But I think if we can get it down and be that speedy, then the risk is going to be good for the reward.
Well, and it's got to make it that style of play. I don't care what sport you're talking about. The high risk, high reward style of play is more exciting for fans and spectators.
Absolutely.
Is it? And we'll have Abby joining us here in the next segment. But I've got to think that style appeals to players too, especially young players. It suits the attention span of young athletes. I think the risk it or biscuit sort of a philosophy. So
Absolutely.
is that have you had anybody have trouble adjusting to that, or has that been one of the easy parts? Is go, hey girls, we're going to play it this way, and they'll go, heck yeah.
Yeah, I think they like it for the most part. We have a lot of questions that come through with it because coming from high school or club, they may just be sitting back, relaxing, doing maybe the easier thing. But I think they're like, yeah, coach, we want the ball. Like, we want to get the ball to our attackers so we can score goals and win, right? The most goals wins at the end of the day. So, but even in practice, we try new things all the time, behind the backs, all these different kind of passes just to mix things up. I don't want to be that boring to watch team. And, even sometimes during practice, I'm like, girls, let's mix it up. This is getting boring for me to watch,
Sure.
you know?
Okay.
So, and I think they like when I say that, like, let's do something new. Let's
It's a
try
game.
something
Have fun.
new. Yeah, and
Okay.
exactly. And at the end of the day, it's all, we want to win, but we want to have fun too.
So now, without having the luxury of games, a couple, like I said, blowout wins last year is what you got under your belt, which is nice for confidence. But how then, you know, with bringing in so many young players, and like I said, we've got Abby's going to join us here in the next segment, but tell us, who are some of the leaders? Without games, how do you identify leaders, and who are some of those that have stepped up and really, that you're really excited about what they're going to be able to do here in another month or so when you guys get to start playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think without games, it has been a little bit tough to find leaders, and obviously you find that through practice and, you know, what they're doing outside of practice as well. But, you know, our true leaders right now are Abby, who will be here in a minute, and then Ann Nelson, who is also a senior. She's going to do some big things for us this year. Marin Clark, who's a junior, is going to do some great things for us on both sides of the field as a really strong midfielder. And we have some really strong sophomores and freshmen that are going to help us too. Our goalie, Avery Basso, is going to do amazing things for us this year. She's just tough in there. You know, she doesn't complain, and she works her butt off every day. So she's going to be, you know, that key to that defense. And then Liv Crawford, she's one of our lefty attackers who's just going to do really good things for us down there. You know, looking to feed the ball and get the ball around. But yeah, I mean, we're young, like you said, and some of the freshmen that we have in this year, we have a 6'1" girl that I'm hoping is gonna do some good things for us.
Play
and then
6'1"?
being 6'1", I mean, it's pretty rare to come by that tall of a women's lacrosse player. So I'm pretty excited about that, and just some talent from locally from Colorado that we have as freshmen too. I think are gonna do good things for us.
Well, looking forward to seeing it all come together on, I think, March 13th, first game
March
on your
13th.
schedule.
Yep.
So, Coach, we're going to wrap it up with a little segment I call the one. It's just a little rapid fire. You just say the first thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
And we'll roll through it again. Let people get to know you a little better.
Okay.
So let's jump right in. 5 questions. First one, your favorite sports movie?
Ooh, Miracle.
That's one of my favorites too. Good one. Good one. Who's your sports idol, professional sports idol?
That's a tough one. I like Mia Hamm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, woman.
That's a great one as well. All right, and here's and let's see. Maybe your first 2 answers gave us a clue on this one. If it wasn't lacrosse, what sport would be your sport?
Soccer.
It would be soccer.
Yep.
Okay. And then who, you know, growing up, I don't care, and you might have given us a hint on this one, from youth club teams to now as a coach. Who would you say, who's your biggest rival? What team, what player, maybe it was an individual player, is there anybody that sticks out to you as, oh boy?
Absolutely Adelphi.
Okay.
They were always our rival.
And is that who, I mean, at what level now?
They're still Division II,
Okay.
and they're still usually hanging in there in the top 3 of
Okay.
NCAA.
They're the ones who had what you wanted.
Yep, absolutely.
So that said, on the plus side, what was your defining moment? What do you say is the defining moment, your one shining moment from your career so far?
I think scoring 2 games in that Adelphi game when we beat them. I mean, we broke the 36-game winning streak against them, and it was the greatest feeling ever, you know, because usually we got blown out by them.
Sure.
But that was just amazing. Scoring 2 goals during that game I'm like, heck yeah, we can do this year, and you know.
Good. Winning the ones you're not supposed to win is always the funnest.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Ashley Travis, thanks for joining us today,
thanks,
and
Paul.
good luck in the season coming up. We're not quite done yet. We got one more segment to go, and we'll be back at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum with Abby Escandon of the Fort Lewis College women's lacrosse team. We'll be back right after these. Welcome back to the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum for the Skyhawks Coaches Corner. I'm Bob Bonner, joined now by women's lacrosse player Abby Escandon, who I think I just got that name right twice. I'm not going to mess with it again. You're just Abby from now on. A senior from Meridian, Idaho. In the short season last year, 4 goals and 7 assists in only a couple of games, which, like I said, you guys scored like a football team last year. 10th all-time in assists right now for the program with 21, and currently 6th all-time in points per game at 2.25 here at Fort Lewis College. So a pretty nice list of accomplishments already for a senior who didn't have much of a junior season. So what do you do? You know, what do you want to do next? How do you cap that off?
Honestly, I just kind of go day by day, but my biggest thing is I do love to assist goals. We always say, assisting is always better than scoring, because it's not just you that scored that goal. It's the people that were before and after, and so that I kind of took over after my freshman year. I didn't really want, I do score goals, but I really just like to assist and kind of create movements and make plays for other people, and that's just really what I like to do.
All right, you know, and here's basketball and hockey knowledge, but let's say maybe you can confirm for lacrosse. I thought you could be more creative with an assist than you could by scoring. I mean, you know, I've passes and some of the what you have to be able to see when you're looking for an assist as opposed to scoring, sort of a straight line thing.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I play down at X, which is behind the goal, and so I have a very nice view of all the other 6 people that are out there with me and where all the defense is and stuff. And like Coach said, we do work on wonk passes or crazy passes and just kind of fun stuff that we can do that throws the defense off and that throws other teams off when they watch our film, because we don't just stand there and pass around the whole time. We do different things and try to incorporate different things into our motions and stuff that we do, just to kind of give even people that are watching something more exciting to watch.
So unless you grew up along the Atlantic, lacrosse is something unusual and something different. Is that, you know, that the different in lacrosse seems to appeal to you? Was the different of lacrosse what drew you to the sport originally?
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't really exist where I live. I mean, we barely had high school teams, and then the club was the best couple people from each high school, and we would just kind of coach ourselves and do whatever we thought we knew we were doing. And my neighbor actually was the one that got us all started. I mean, I'm the only girl in our neighborhood, and so all the guys were playing, and I was like, this looks like it could be kind of fun, but I hated to run. I quit soccer because I was running is terrible. So I was like, okay, maybe if I play lacrosse, it won't be as much running. And I remember when my mom dropped me off in 8th grade at the parking lot, and she's like, I'll pick you up in an hour, and she came back to pick me up, and the coach was like, you know, she's really good at this, she should do it, and I just kind of stuck with it ever since then, and I honestly love it. It is hard, we do a lot of running, but I think it's honestly one of the cooler sports, because it's not something that you see every day. People, when I tell them I play lacrosse, they ask what that is, and I'm like, perfect, I will tell you what it is, and instead of saying, oh, I just play basketball, you see that on TV, you don't really get to see lacrosse on TV. So I do like that it's very different, and it's not as popular, especially out here, as it is on the East Coast.
And I can relate. I came back from my freshman year of college to Wyoming, and I think I had the only lacrosse stick in Weston County, and I think one of my friends used it to club a fish not too long after that, and so Weston County is again without a lacrosse stick. So what did you know, the season was cut short last year for you. I mean, you guys had gotten off to a great start and rolled a little bit. What were you able to see in those 2 games that you know, tells you something about this year and has got you excited for this year?
I saw a lot of potential. I mean, we do have a very young team, and it's hard coming in as a younger player and wanting to play at the same level as the older people on the team. And so I think just the way that we approached last year and the way we've been approaching this year is we just want everybody to be ready and confident and to go out there and know that I can pass to the person that's standing next to me, or I want the younger girls to be able to feel comfortable and know what's going on, because it is a huge change of pace from high school. I mean, the rules are completely different, just the speed of it is so different. And I remember in our first game, one of my friends, she went down and I helped her up. I said, welcome to the big leagues, and she goes, you weren't kidding, it's very intense out here. And I said, it is, that's why we lift weights and that's why we condition and all that kind of stuff, because it is way different. But I just like the potential that our team has this year to be really good. You've
truly, coming from Idaho and in primarily club programs and smaller programs to now playing in college, you know, and you talk about how you went to lacrosse because you were trying to run away from running, which is really kind of funny. I think golf's about the only thing you've got going for you if you want to do that. But you know, to come now, and it seems like you talk about that's why we work out. That's why you've really immersed yourself in the college athletic experience, even to the point you're in the sports administration department at the school. Is this, you know, is this something coming from where you did? You know, is it just lacrosse now, or is Division II college athletics, has it really got a hold of you?
I don't think it's just lacrosse for me anymore. I mean, I've definitely learned a lot being a player and a student, that I think I like notice, like, I wouldn't say flaws, but things that I'm just like, oh, I wish we had access to this. And so I'm like, with my degree, maybe I can go and do something that allows me to help athletes the way that I needed help when I was a student and that kind of stuff. Like, even just with academics and advising and all that kind of stuff, there's just, it's not really a lack of resources, but I just want to be able to help people that are, because I mean, as athletes, we are busy with school, we are busy with practice and lift and stuff, and it's hard to know what's going on, like, outside of that. And so just being like a resource for people to ask questions, or even like, because I did play college sports, like, I know what it's like. I wake up at 4:45 every morning and go to practice, and so just being that kind of resource or outlet for people, I think that's kind of what I want to do.
And it is a way to stay around sports without having to run. So maybe you have tapped into the secret already. All right, Abby, they're giving me the high sign, so we're almost done. We're going to jump into the one. I'm going to make you play as well, okay? You got a little preview with Coach, so it shouldn't be too tough for you. We'll jump right into it. First one, favorite sports movie?
Mighty Ducks.
Nice. All right. I like it. Good. Lacrosse and hockey, I've always thought. Yeah. Mystery Alaska, girls. I mean, that's the best hockey movie if you haven't seen it yet. You're a professional sports idol.
Honestly, anyone that plays a Division I college lacrosse, I watch them on TV all the time. I think that they just have something that's so cool. But a professional, Bethany Hamilton, I think, I don't know, I love to surf, and that's just somebody that I've liked to follow ever since.
You talk about D1 lacrosse. Do you ever hit up Coach about getting you maybe field side Syracuse someday?
No,
I mean,
not yet. Not yet.
Maybe as a graduation present. So if you weren't playing lacrosse, what sport would you be playing?
Oof, I think softball, because I just want to run the bases. I think it would be so fun to just run. Even though I don't
For the girl
like
who doesn't like to run.
Running, it's very short sprinting, and I'm good at that. I'm not good at long distance running.
Who was your rival to beat all rivals?
Mesa.
Okay.
Yep, Colorado Mesa. Ever since my freshman year, they've just, I don't know, there's just something between us, and we want to beat them just as bad as they want to beat us. So hopefully we can do that this year.
And then how about what's so far in your career? What's your defining moment? Your one shining moment?
My freshman year, I was terrified to play. Like, I don't know why Coach put me in. I didn't think I was ready. I was just so nervous, and I remember someone passed me the ball, and I don't even know if I knew what I was doing, and I just ripped it, and it went right in the goal, and it was against Mesa. And I think after that, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can play at this level, and this is something that I want to keep doing. And so after that, I just kind of...
It's when you knew you belonged.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really was because of where you were and your exposure to the level of competition you had. That there really, I can understand there was maybe a question mark there for you. Was that just liberating?
Yeah, it was honestly like one of the best things, because like my teammates that year, they were like, we told you, like, you could do it. And I was like, oh, I just didn't know, but now I know for sure that, like, I can. And so that's what I do like about, like, having a younger team this year, because I remember when I was in their shoes, like, I was terrified to go out on the field. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I think just having them, like, having me as a resource for them is also very helpful.
Well, hopefully you continue to be a resource, not just at Fort Lewis, but after graduation as well in sports administration. Abby, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
On the Skyhawks Coaches Corner. Thanks also to Coach Ashley Travis. That's going to wrap it up for the program this week. Again, we want to thank our sponsors at Centura Health and Mercy Regional Medical Center. And thanks to the folks here at the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum for allowing us to film the program here each week. We want to say thank you to you for watching, and we'll talk to you next week. Keep soaring, folks.